Okay, hi year sevens. We're going to look at aid in Africa today. So, can you please have a go at this recall starter activity? What is a good thing? What's the benefit of fair trade? We looked at this last lesson. What is the definition of trade liberalization, or what do you think trade liberalization means? What is a food web? And what way do the arrows point toward? What way do the arrows point in a food web? So what does one arrow go into the other? Um, can you please write these in full sentences? So benefits of fair trade means, trade liberalization means, a food web means, and what way do the arrows point to? So from what kind of animals or plants, consumers, producers, for example. Once that is done, can you please write down the date and title and neatly underline that? Okay, so date and title, aid in Africa, underline that. If you pause my recording now, give yourself about 5 minutes. 5 minutes to write down the date and title, answer those 3 questions in full sentences. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you've gone through that. Okay, we did look at this last lesson as it's a recall activity. What are the different types of aid is today's learning objective, both positives and negatives of aid. And then you are going to be able to discuss if trade or aid is better. So we're going to look at today's lesson and the previous lesson for this last learning objective. So the first task, you are going to have to listen to the song. I've attached the link on Google Classroom. What do you think it has been made for and why? In the blue box, you've got a sentence starter. This song has been made for. This is because. So it's answering that question in the green box. If you pause my recording, click the YouTube link on Google Classroom, have a go at answering these 2 questions and in a full sentence. Okay, so this song has been made for, raising money from Band Aid. You might have heard the song before. And now we're going to look at what is aid. So aid is essentially any sort of support, goods, services, or money given to those in need. So if a country needs aid in terms of money, then that is given to them through that. So there's lots of different types of aid. Okay, this slide just summarizes it in a very brief manner. However, you have got a worksheet that has the definitions of particular types of aid, what they're called, as well as the definition. So if you spend about 4 minutes reading through the worksheet, matching up the correct definitions to the key terms, once that is done, fold your sheet in half and stick it in your books. Then you have an extension task. From those types of aid, which one do you think is the best, and can you give 3 reasons for why you think that? So if you pause my recording, have a go at that. You don't have to do the worksheet in order. You can do it through a process of elimination. You might want to number the key terms and the definition, so in case you make a mistake, you can then easily correct your mistakes, which is fine. So if you pause my recording, give yourself about 5 minutes to do that in. So different types of aid. You should have got emergency or short-term aid needed after sudden disasters such as the 2000 Mozambique floods or the 2004 Asian tsunami. Conditional or tied aid, when one country donates money or resources to another country but with conditions attached. Charitable aid, long-term or development aid, and then multilateral aid. Okay, so those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of specific aid even given to countries. Your extension task, okay, from these 5 types of aid, which one do you think is the best and why? Think about how many people it impacts, how easy it is to sort this sort of aid out, and why. Okay, we have now another clip to watch. Can you please write in your books a subheading, how can aid help African communities? You're then going to, as you watch this clip, subheading 3 challenges, 3 issues that Daniel faces in his life. Next subheading, 3 ways charitable aid has helped Daniel. So while you watch this link, which is again attached on Google Classroom, can you pause at your own pace, make notes of these 3 or 6 answers? You've now got, we're getting to our last learning objective, is aid positive or negative? So you've got to read through these statements, okay, and you can either do it as a table, on one side have positive, on the other side have negatives. Do you think aid is a good thing or aid is a bad thing? As you read through them, place them in the correct category, and then if you finish early, try and group these statements into social, economic or environmental. You don't have to color code if you haven't got different colors. So if you pause me now, pause my recording, give yourself about 10 minutes to do this in. Okay, write down the positives and negatives of aid. So hopefully now you've finished your task. Emergency aid in times of disaster saves people's lives. Hopefully you've got that one as a positive. Aid helps to rebuild housing and livelihoods, positive. Africa may become dependent, so reliant on aid from rich countries they can't do without, that's a negative. Gives people food that is better quality. Can give people clean water and better healthcare. Sometimes there's not enough money from aid to finish the projects that have started. So aid might give some money, the project scheme even might begin, and because there then isn't enough money to carry on completing this project might be left half done. The government may use money for their own gain, so corruption there, and then aid may not reach people who need it the most, so linked to the one above, corruption again. So in green you've got your positives about aid, in red you've got your negatives about aid. Can you please use those answers? You might have to go back. Can you please use those answers to check your answers, correct your answers in your books, because you'll need that for the next task. So is trade now, or trade or aid, better for Africa? Last lesson we looked at trade, this lesson we're looking at aid. You are essentially going to write down 3 mini paragraphs about which you think is better for Africa, trade or aid. First paragraph is about trade, the other paragraph is about aid, third paragraph, your final opinion. In your blue box, you've got the sentence starters for your first paragraph. Trade is better for Africa because. Second paragraph, aid is better for Africa because. So you'll probably need to look back in your books for your notes about trade. And then lastly, your third paragraph is your own opinion. There's no right or wrong, as long as you justify and give reasons for your answer. I think trade or aid or both is better for Africa, and this is because. In this green box, you've got an example of how you might want to expand your answers. Okay, so your point, P for point, aid is better for Africa because it gives children the opportunity to get an education. Detail, so just expand, give a reason for your answer, or give examples. Charities such as Comic Relief raise money so that children do not have to work for 8 hours in awful conditions, and instead they can go to school. That's your first paragraph about aid. Second paragraph for trade. Similar point, give examples, give a reason, and then your third paragraph, you are choosing which one you think is better, trade or aid. You will need about 10 minutes to do this in. So, like I said earlier, you might need to also look through your books for the lesson on trade. Look through your notes for this lesson on aid. Use these positive and negative comments to help you make your decision. So if you pause my recording and have a go at this task for about 10 minutes. Once you've finished that, we're going to do a bit of peer assessment in your green pens. Self-assessment in your green pens. You are going to read through your work. Think about a what went well and an even better comment. Have you done the following in this green box? If not, it doesn't matter as long as you know how to improve your answer. Give yourself about 5 to 7 minutes to pause my recording and do this task. And once that is completed, have a go at this plenary question. Choose 3 of these pictures and say how they are linked to aid. Okay, so some of them you might not know what they mean, which is fine. So just choose the 3 that you feel confident in saying how they link to aid. What does each image show? How does that link to aid? Give yourself about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes to do this. And once that is finished, if you have time, can you please go through the PowerPoint lesson, finish any work that you haven't completed, make sure your sheets are stuck in, make sure you finish extension tasks, make sure you've completed sentences in completed answers in full sentences. Thank you, Year 7s.